Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and with me I have a woman who has advanced in her life from a council person in Southampton to now a county legislator, Bridget Fleming.
Advanced in my life. I like the way you said that.
Yeah, I like that too. It just sort of came to me at the moment.
Good.
Because you know what? It is nice to see capable, honest, idealistic women who care about Suffolk County get the position that is important to help in what we have to deal with here in Suffolk County.
Thank you, Phyllis. I not to speak about my own credentials in that way, but I do think that it's awfully important for people who, have passion for their communities, represent us in government. Politics can be so full of, misguided motivations in terms of decision making. So, I am an idealist, and I think we need as many idealists as we can possibly get. And yes. I appreciate your saying it, because every time someone says that to somebody in a position of influence, then that reinforces that that's a value that we love and we want to keep promoting.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we have enough of the people who are looking to get what they can.
Yes.
And we need some who are looking to give what they can. And
right.
that's a very important attribute.
I appreciate you saying that. I was raised that way, and politics is, as I said, is a blood sport sometimes, and so it's hard to hold on to that idealism. But I'm glad that you said that, because the more we can say that to folks who are in office, the more we reinforce how important that is. That's what it's all about. It's community service. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yes, it is. That's exactly it. It's just that you are giving your life to it, I mean, even as an educator, of course, I gave my life to community service too.
More important than almost anything, I would say.
I could have made a lot of money in a lot of other fields, but, I had this Joan of Arc complex. Mm-hmm. Was out to save the world.
That's great.
But I always forgot that she was burned at the stake.
Right. Well, this particular lifetime may not be everything it's cracked up to be. You're probably building for other things as well, right?
Yes. So you're originally a Alexandria, Virginia and Washington, D.C. lady.
True.
Came here with your husband?
No, actually my folks are from Brooklyn. And so we moved, when I was very, very young, we moved outside of D.C. for my father's work. And I went to a high school, I think I was telling you, ballet high school that fed into the Washington Ballet Company in Washington, D.C. And I danced for the company after graduating from high school for a few years, and then moved to New York to follow my dreams in the theater, which didn't pan out particularly after. So I started college in my mid-20s. And yep, I was a late starter. So I went to Hunter College while I was working full-time at Lincoln Center.
Great school.
It was a great, great school. My mom went there too, actually, when she was growing up in Brooklyn. She went there for a brief time, didn't get her degree there. But anyway, it's a great school. And then I didn't meet my husband until many years later. And then we moved out here when I met my husband.
Didn't you also go to law school?
I did. Right. Oh, so the whole biography. So went to Hunter College, and then I actually took a year off to reestablish residence in Virginia, so that University of Virginia would be my safe school for law school. Uh-huh. And then I ended up going. They gave me a full scholarship, so I went to University of Virginia, and then I ran into the district attorney of New York, Robert Morgenthau, on an Amtrak train. He invited me to work for the office, and I moved back to New York and was an assistant DA there for almost a decade. And I met my husband, and he is from Mineola and Sayville, and he knew about Sag Harbor. He said Sag Harbor was this wonderful town. I should get to see it. We were both in the sort of frame of mind that we wanted to leave the city. And we drove out to Sag Harbor, and I went we drove around a little bit. I went directly to, it was then Alan Schneider on Main Street in Sag Harbor and started looking for a house and moved a couple months later. And we've been here ever since. That was 16 years ago.
And Sag Harbor still is a great town. It's one of the few that still has the essence of what they were, which is really wonderful.
It's a great example of community people really kind of pushing back the development wave. You know, there's a lot of pressure, financial pressure, because many very, very wealthy people want to come in and do, you know, this or that that's going to really change the character of the community. And so they've done a great job between the Architectural Review Board and the historic, you know, the folks that review applications for historic truth or authenticity within that historic district, which is the downtown, and the activists in the community. They've really done a great job sort of as a model of how you can invite economic prosperity, but at the same time maintain what's true and real about your community. They've done a great job.
I just have to give you a little aside. I went to my hometown, the Bronx. A couple of weeks ago, I went through this section where I was raised in the East Bronx, not far from the Whitestone Bridge near Parkchester.
Oh.
And let me tell you, they didn't do a good job.
Oh, that's
You
a shame.
can't believe how crowded, how overdeveloped. Buildings that, and it was mostly single-family residents, and there were some small buildings, you know, like my particular church, are all dwarfed. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was so disappointed, I almost cried.
What a shame.
I said, where's the Throgs Neck Bridge? I got to get back to Long Island and Springs.
Right. Well, you know,
It's a big battle.
Because it's economic pressure that creates density, and it's a big struggle for us on the east end of Long Island, even within Suffolk County. Excuse me. We were just I was just at a press conference today with county executive who's done a lot of economic development up west. But Al Krupski, who's my North Fork colleague, and then of course the wonderful Larry Cantwell and members of the East Hampton community, some folks in Southampton as well, have really done a very good job in communicating to the county exec that yes, we want economic development, but density is something that's very damaging to the character of our community and to our economy, really. We need our open space. We need, you know, we need our natural resources.
You know, I really have to tell you that Tim Bishop, who I interviewed, our former representative to Congress, used to say that if we do not have vistas to look out over, pristine beaches and clean water, no one's going to want to come here eventually.
Right, right.
And I think that's really a bit of wisdom.
Absolutely.
And we have to maintain that. Also with the economic development, we want to make sure that some of that money that is made stays here in our hometowns.
Right.
So you've had a big change from the Southampton Council to Suffolk County Legislator. How has it been? Tell us.
It's been fantastic. Is this the first time I've been on your show since then? Oh,
Yes.
Great. I love coming on your show, by the way. Thank you for having me.
I love having you,
Oh,
I must admit.
But it's a different situation in a way in that it's just enormous. The number of issues, the district itself is enormous. And so it's demanding, without a doubt. I drive to Hop Hog a lot because I serve on 5 committees. I'm the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. I'm the vice chair of the Health Committee. And so the committees meet fairly frequently, and you have the general meetings, which are crazy long. They go from 9:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. The district office is beautiful. I'm on Washington Street in Sag Harbor, and anybody's welcome to come and see me and my staff. We do the best we can to reach out to constituents and serve the constituents, and I think we do a pretty good job. So that's really nice because that's near where I live in Noyak. But driving up to Hop Hog has been a bit of a challenge.
I can
It's a
imagine.
lot of driving.
Listen, I mean, driving here to LTV is a big challenge.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, holy mackerel. I was clocking it today and saying, look at how long it's taking me just because
Yeah.
the sun is shining
Oh, I know. It
and the
gets
trucks
worse.
are on the road.
Yeah, well, I have the reverse commute. I'm going sort of west while people are coming east, so that's a good thing. But it's really important. I mean, it's nice to be part of representative government in a legislative body. You know, I'm a lawyer, and to have 17 other legislators that you need to work with to get things accomplished is really great. And that travel is necessary to it because you want people, you know, it's true on the larger scale too, either in the state legislature or in DC. You want people who have their roots in their districts. And in Suffolk County, it's particularly important because the east end of Long Island is very different from up west. I mean, we're just talking about density and development. Yeah, we love our place and we'll hold on to it. But it takes a certain commitment to the issues, the concerns of the district. And really, you got to fight for it. Jay Schneiderman was a very tenacious representative. He preceded me for 12 years. I've been known to be tenacious. And Al Krupski, who's on the North Fork, the two of us have sort of partnered on a lot of issues. And by and large, the legislature is very receptive and has been very respectful of our needs and concerns. We got two brand new capital projects in the capital program, very unusual. One about tick-borne illnesses, I'm extremely proud of. You know, they agreed to have 2 cycles of general meetings and committee meetings out east in Riverside, the Riverhead County Center, which is in the town of Southampton. So there are a number of things. They made me the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. So there are a number of things that they have really, the Western legislators have really kind of, I wouldn't say rolled out the red carpet, but been very respectful of the needs and concerns of the East End in terms of how they've welcomed me. You know, and you know, in government, when you get funding for particular projects, you know that you are moving things forward. And so to have 2 new capital projects in the capital program, highly unusual, and I think really sort of augurs well for how I'm going to be received, you know, moving forward.
So tell me something. What do you see as the biggest issues that we face?
Well, the clean water issue is obviously critical. We've talked about it a number of times.
Listen, it's what I live for. I mean, that's no doubt about it. That you know, I've said it all the time. If you can't drink the water, you have nothing.
Yep, absolutely. There's a measure. I was just at a conference where I spoke to some economists from Stony Brook University, and they are actually putting together an economic model that demonstrates that the depth of the clarity in your water is directly related to your property values. So
You mean in your drinking water?
in surface waters. No, in your surface waters. So in our bays and harbors.
I'm going down with a glass
There you
tomorrow morning when I take my swim.
Right. Well, I'll get to that. They haven't finished their study, but there's a direct correlation, which of course it makes a lot of sense, but it gives us more fuel, so to speak, or more weapons in our battle to continue to try to reduce the nitrogen pollution and the other contaminants in the surface waters. So that's extremely important. It's really delightful to work with the county staff on it because the county executive has made reclaiming our bays and waters one of his primary objectives. The state has also, Governor Cuomo said nitrogen is public enemy #1 on Long Island. So and then once again, funding follows those kind of statements. So there are a lot of opportunities for forward motion, and we are working hard on a number of things that are going to, I think, have a very significant impact, you know, in the years to come with regard, and in the short term as well, with regard to clean water. So that's very, very important. Public health is another issue that I'm really happy to be able to explore and support as a county legislator. The local towns, of course, have less to do with public health than the county. So that's a great opportunity. And I am absolutely delighted to have one of the capital projects that was added to the capital program, which, by the way, we just adopted last week, which is why it's on my mind. But there is in the capital program a new project that funds equipment for studying tick-borne illnesses. So it's almost revolutionary, Phyllis, because for the very first time, tick-borne illness research is funded in the capital budget. First time we've had that. Secondly, super important, the county executive actually mentioned it in his state of the county, so it's a priority for him as well. And then the budget review office, the legislature's budget review office, does a little analysis of each capital project. And in the analysis, they state that, and this is so huge to me, tick-borne illnesses are far more prevalent than mosquito-borne illnesses in Suffolk County. And to me, that I feel so great, because in the 6 short months that I've been in office, I've been able to really deliver on that one priority for myself. I talked about it during the campaign, and we've talked about it at the town level as well, that there's so much focus on the West Nile virus, so much focus on mosquitoes. Yes. And there's spraying that people on the east side of Long Island don't even want. That really impact the wetlands in a damaging way, not to mention shellfish populations. Well, we have the Zika virus that we have to be careful of. It's not a real threat to the east end of Long Island or really New York at all at this point. We have to be careful and keep an eye on it. Absolutely. But because of that, I think we'll probably move a little more slowly away from the mosquito spraying, which was a priority of mine. But we have gotten this new focus on the tick-borne illnesses, which are, without a question, a public health crisis.
There is no doubt. I couldn't echo I had to go to the doctor last week with a tick that I could not remove. Yeah. And he had a tough time removing it. It was one of the Lone Stars. And I think I may be getting the symptoms. I'm watching, I'm watching carefully to see what's going to happen.
Well, one thing that we've really got to do a better job of is education with regard to prevention of tick-borne illnesses. There are some very simple measures that you can take, whether it's pulling your socks over your pants or using the proper pesticides when you're going into the woods or into the grass. When you get back from a hike, or when you're in, even the grass, when you get back, throw your clothes right into the dryer.
Absolutely. I do it all the time, and those clothes are my garden clothes. They are sprayed
in your garden.
Permethrin, so and but I got this tick sitting outside on a chair having my breakfast.
Right. No, we've got to be very vigilant.
They are really, really around.
I agree. No question about it. So this program is, as I said, the first time funding what's called the arthropod-borne disease lab at the Department of Health in the county. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing a very thorough collection of ticks, and then they're going in 10 or more sites throughout the county. And then they're going to analyze them so that we have a real sense, a true evidence-based view of what species of ticks at what stage of life are in what locations, on what hosts, whether it's the rodent or the deer.
That information.
We're going to get that, and then we can fashion an evidence-based, data-driven program for what solution is appropriate in what location. And that will bring us to much larger funding at the state and federal level. So I'm very, very excited about that. The third priority for me in the public health realm is mental health care for our young people, particularly the opiate epidemic and suicide, which unfortunately, the kids on the east end of Long Island are more vulnerable to, or certainly more vulnerable to depression and substance abuse than elsewhere in the state. So we're moving into that as well, and those are really my top 3 priorities.
Well, those are wonderful priorities.
There's so much to do, though.
I say, go, girl, go.
Yeah, we also need jobs, and we need, decent housing and affordable housing. So there are a number of other things as well. Our traffic is a huge issue. I was just up in Albany advocating for some public funds for public transportation.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of work to do, but those are my 3 top priorities.
Yeah. Well, those are wonderful priorities, but that public transportation, that's an important one, too. I know there was a program that was began. It was a 5-town transportation, and then 2008 came along, and the bottom dropped out of the world.
Well, Assemblyman Thiel just announced that he's got additional funding for revisiting, or he's certainly revisiting with the Long Island Railroad and the MTA, the idea of those scoot bus. They had diesel scoot trains that they used some years ago when they widened County Road 39. And, that may be, they're listening, Phyllis. They're listening to the fact that we have serious, serious public transportation problems. We need people to start getting around in some way other than their own individual car.
Right. So
that we can move in our streets, at a decent pace and safely. And so there's a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I see you have a Dave Cologne button on.
Yes, I do indeed, because all of the things that you and I value are represented with the leadership of this man, who is running now as a potential candidate to unseat the congressman that we now have. And I'm very much for this man.
I actually endorse Dave, and I support him too, and it just fits into what we were just talking about with regard to public transportation, because Dave was the chair of the Suffolk County Planning Commission and very keyed into the specific concerns of the East End community. Our idea, he's from Port Jeff himself, or that area.
Born and raised.
Yes, and a Democrat all his life.
All his life, indeed.
Yeah, he's a very sort of true to his, stays true to his values. You were talking about idealists in office. Dave is one of those guys.
Yes.
He really does. His wife is a minister. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's very humble about it, but I think he has very strong and true values that I think you and I share, and many of the people on Eastern Long Island, and certainly in East
our
Hampton.
entire town board supports him.
That's right.
Because, we know that his opponent threw us under the bus when it came to the airport.
Well, it's not just your town board that supports him, though. I sat on the town board with his opponent for many, many years, and I'm endorsing Dave. So is Sally Pope, who's a former councilwoman in Southampton. His opponent was supervisor. Anna Throneholz was a supervisor in Southampton, but John Bouvier, who's currently a councilman, myself, Sally Pope, who's a former councilwoman, we're all endorsing Cologne also.
Yes, well, he's been endorsed also by the environmental groups of New York.
And he has the Independence Party line, which is huge.
Yes.
On the East End of Long Island, that Independence Party line can really make or break. It's been the margin of victory for me when I had it. It was the margin of error for me one year when I did not have it, and I didn't. We have the first time I ran for town board. So it's a really critically important thing. Anna was a member of the Independence Party for many years. She was a registered member, only registered recently as a Democrat when she decided to run for Congress.
I must say, I have to say, she is what's called an opportunist. She wanted to run for this seat in Congress. I guess she's interested in going to Washington, but we're hoping that it's, and particularly for someone like me who is a true supporter of women. I mean, I would.
Oh, me too.
I mean, there is nothing I don't do to support women.
Right.
But I'm not this woman.
But I just wanted to mention, without going too far in that direction, just to say that the Independence Party line is so important. It's interesting that David has that line, even though Anna had been a member of the party for so many years. So, but it really can make a big difference. So I think what we've got to keep our eye on is who can beat Lee Zeldin. Congressman Zeldin is very committed to the conservative agenda.
Well, he's supporting Donald Trump.
Supporting Donald Trump.
And he had, in the last election, against my dear Tim Bishop, an awful lot of money that was given to him.
And he will again. He will again. He's he appears on Fox News. He's a bit of a darling of the conservative, the very far conservative right, Tea Party kind of point of view. And so I don't think that really matches the general feeling in our constituency. And so I do think that Dave is probably the best candidate to take that seat back.
Well, what particularly attracted me to him, besides my aversion for her, is that he helped significantly, and when he was chairman of the Planning Commission, to stop that development of 555, that unbelievably gorgeous open field that you can look this way when you're driving out to Montauk and you see open space.
In Amagansett, just as you're heading to
yes.
the Nat Peak stretch.
And
yeah,
it was,
beautiful.
It was up for grabs, and it was going to be, a lot of very high-end, very expensive condominiums. And he helped us to not have that come to fruition, and you can still now drive through Amagansett on your way to look over there, and it's a lovely open field.
It's interesting, the Suffolk County Planning Commission doesn't have a dispositive vote with regard to developments, but if they vote something down, then you need a supermajority on the town board in order to pass it. And he did the same thing for the shopping center in Southampton, which, when we talk about traffic, would have clogged up traffic, like nobody's tomorrow. So we can't afford County Road 39, which is already just bumper to bumper so often.
You know what I say about County Road 39?
What?
Avoid at all costs.
Oh, but the thing is, it's the one east-west artery. If you want to get to East Hampton and you're coming from the city, or you're coming from Nassau County, or you're coming from Mastic, where you happen to work, where you happen to live, so you can work out here, there's no
that's
avoiding
where we
it.
need some more public transportation for the people who have to go back and forth.
Absolutely.
Bridget, my
That's
dear,
it?
you'll come back
Always goes
again.
so
It's
fast.
over. I know. It always goes so fast, doesn't it? It's amazing. I often wonder why I bother to put on so much makeup. It's
Oh, you're
gone.
so funny. That's so funny.